get tucked straight into the weekend. We're going to be talking about all things Sunday, looking forward to the game, analysing it, how it might shape up, who's going to play, and everything surrounding it. Welcome along if you're watching on Twitter or also on YouTube. We've got Pierce and we've also got Lee. Pierce, we'll start with you, mate. Mr. Optimist, what's your take for Sunday, pal?
I don't know. I'm in this stage. I know what Tuesday like, but when you start making deals with God, like halfway through the week for the game, like I'm at the stage now where it's just like I've been saying it for weeks. I would walk away with a draw, like delighted with a draw.
Fuck that. I don't know. I said this the other day. I think I'm supremely confident. Like, just waste that 2 week break didn't happen. I think what would have been absolutely flying. It was if they were toiling a wee bit. We were sort of after that Ross County game. We thought we played class that day. So I think that 2 week break was a wee bit of a flipper. What do you reckon yourself, Martino?
For them, that game against Dundee kind of summed up for me the way that they operate in the league. There's no getting away from the fact that they've done well in Europe. I'd bite somebody's hand off for Celtic to have a decent run in Europe. Getting to the quarterfinals, any competition could never be sniffed at. But it's a different mentality. It's a different style as well. When you play away from home, teams don't park the bus, and you can kind of get each other, and it probably suits their style a wee bit better. They can clearly play at that level, and they can adapt their game to it. Whereas domestically, I think they really struggle to break teams down that are well organised, and they looked so mundane, so shit. In the game against Ross County, I thought we were fluid. I thought we looked really good. And Ross County haven't been in a bad run of form recently. They've played all right. But domestically, we've been imperious, and we've sorted the stuff out the back. I'm still not overly happy with the defence. I think it could be improved, but certainly this season, we've shored up. They've definitely worked on shape. They understand each other's positions a lot better. Carter Vickers is a fucking boss. Hart's been a great signing. Not really been conceding too many goals. And I personally just didn't see them scoring many, if at all, against us. I think Celtic win. Don't think it'll be a goal fest, but I think it'll either be 2-0 or 2-1. But I think we'll get the job done, and then that'll be the league tucked over, because there's no way Celtic are chucking that gap between now and the end of the season.
It's going to be interesting to see what way we line up. We've had a controversy the other day. We were talking about a couple of team selections that there was a couple of disagreements today between me and Pierce.
Who did you pick? The back four picks itself. So who were you? Who did you mean out? See, personally though, with the back four, saying that I'll contradict myself, but I would put Ralston at right back and Juranovic at left back.
He's not going to do that. Like, he's definitely going to do the same back four that played the last day. And actually, Taylor's played every game since, is it Dundee United?
Yep.
He's played the last few games. He's definitely going to play. Obviously, Hart's going to play.
No, he will. But I personally wouldn't play him. But
no, I wouldn't. And I'd rather play. Obviously, you'd rather play Juranovic. But you'd rather have Juranovic right full and a proper decent left back. But to be fair, no one here is a big fan of Taylor, but he did well back in February against them. And
he did.
He hasn't done anything particularly wrong in the last few weeks. Just we need a left back in the summer. But no, I think in the midfield is where there's a bit of disagreement between people's opinions on who they will play in midfield.
What's the argument between Abada and Maeda?
No. I'm saying fucking Leif saying this, know what I mean? Get absolutely fucking wrecked. I would go with Beaton myself. I don't think he's gonna do it. I wouldn't be surprised if he did it. Reason being, those fuckers are gonna come out of the traps early. They're gonna try and play the we played in the first half, even though they'll never meet them standards. They definitely won't. But I just think Beaton provides a bit of a stopgap between the defence and midfield. I think midfield is always it's one of them areas that's going to be one of the main area that sort of you look at the way they play in midfield. They're very, very strong at times, especially at home. Even the last couple of weeks in Europe, they've shown that. And I think that when you play Beaton, it just allows Conor McGregor to go a wee bit forward. And McGregor going forward for me is just fucking absolutely incredible. He just runs about there by himself and bosses the whole game. And I think Beaton could be, like I said, a wee bit of a stopgap there between defence and midfield.
I see what you're saying, playing him as a 6, but for me, he's just far too prone to a mistake. Big games, he's totally and utterly reckless. He's generally prone to a yellow or a freak red in big matches. He loses his discipline.
You don't know which one's going to turn up either.
There's times where he can look like a Rolls Royce, and then other times he won't even be interested in getting his foot on the ball. He won't tackle. He just runs a bit like a coward. But and then when he's not really in the game, he does these stupid niggly challenges and geese shite away. But I personally wouldn't trust him on a big occasion. I think I thought you would have talked about the wingers. I thought the 3 almost picks itself. If fully fit, I hear what you're saying about McGregor though. I take the point about McGregor. I'd personally always prefer McGregor further forward, not quite in a 10, but just sitting so he can penetrate a wee bit, take the ball in the half turn and actually dictate the game a wee bit more, like what he used to do under Rodgers. And he was colossal at picking up goals against him. But Hatate for me would start McGregor, and then you've got to work out between Roderick and O'Reilly.
He's going to be alright, isn't
Hatate has looked fucking... He's looked absolutely shattered. Even from the Fabry game, he's looked absolutely nagger. Don't get me wrong, he's an absolute quality operator. And if you had to choose between the two, Hatate starts for me every single day of the week, definitely based on skill and what he can do in a game. He just looks really tired. Plus, did he play the first half of Japan there during the week?
He came off in 60 minutes.
More game time after playing a full season. Coming back and then going straight back into this fucking game at Ajax.
Though is actually after having 2 weeks that it could be Hatate or Turnbull. That's the choice he might have to make on Sunday. Now, for me,
the kick at the ball for.
Yeah, but he's been fit. He played the last 35 minutes of that game against Ross County. That he's been 2 weeks, so you never know. I'd be surprised. I think it'll be Hatate McGregor, and I think he'll play O'Reilly. I think O'Reilly probably offers a bit more energy than Rogic, and they're going to play they'll play Jack Kamara and probably Rebo in the middle of the park.
But they surely worked out that O'Reilly and Roderick doesn't work. But you need a better balance. And if you're going to get on the ball and dictate the ball, McGregor, I would say, needs to be a bit further forward. But you need to have someone that can sit and break up. And to be fair, a lot of people were saying that Hatate's no looked on the ball. He hasn't. The game at Easter Road, I think, was his worst game in a Celtic jersey. But like you looked at the game at Tynecastle, it looked like a Rolls Royce. You watched the game against the Huns, he was imperious. And then you can see that there's levels to his game. You can see the boy can play. I think he's, as you say, he's just wasted. It's a lot of toll coming to a new place, new culture, new language, new city, new everything. And I think if you give him a full pre-season next year, I think he's going to be unbelievable. But I'd certainly start him. The game will be won in midfield. We just need to make sure we didn't concede a goal in the first 30 minutes. And then I think we'll do the business. If they score early, you've got an issue. But I don't see them doing that. And they're so vulnerable, actually, to crosses. You know, for as good a goalkeeper as that absolute freak.
So are we, though.
I know, but well, to be fair, we've not really conceded too many this season. We've been...
Yeah, like, but look at the sheer panic you see in the team, though, when a ball goes into
that's a problem. And that is a problem, especially if a team score. We look like we've run out of ideas at times. But I think if Celtic can get a bit of confidence, but if Celtic get the first goal, I think that's it. Celtic will go on and take the game. We're definitely not going to lose a game anyway if we score first. The worst would be a draw. But we just need to be able to control the tempo at the start of the game. Make sure we get sort of a foothold in the match. If you get McGregor on the ball and start dictating the tempo and moving the ball, and then if we get a chance, I think we'll score. Well, there's goals in the team, so I wouldn't worry about that. Who would you start up front?
Jack Marcus.
But it's starting like a 9. Who would you put? What was your discussion? Who would you put away? Jota and Maeda?
That's who. I think that's who. Did we both say we played her?
Yeah. Yep. Maeda for me will thrive in this game. I think
it works his balls off.
He's just a runner, mate. He's a runner. He's a quality player. I'd seen a lot of people on Twitter and stuff like sort of criticise him in the last couple of weeks. That work ethic is just absolutely ridiculous. I think it was like the 87th minute against Ross County. That press on the goalkeeper. You can't buy it. If we have had it Airbrats, it'll be massive for us.
that level of press, though. Seeing that the game at Celtic Park when we beat them 3-0, that's what murdered them, because they like to get the two fullbacks really, really high so they can cause mayhem with the balls coming into the box. They got absolutely hemmed. They didn't know They didn't know whether they should step out. They didn't know whether they should come inside. They got absolutely tortured, and it gave us so much more license to be able to pick up second balls. Hatate's second goal came for that, as did the Abada goal. We crucified them actually on the wing. So if you could get Maeda running at them, pressing them every single time they take a touch, put pressure on, get yourself up the pitch, get yourself a throw in, I think he causes them no end of problems. And then Abada, the guy's stats are freakish. I wouldn't be surprised if he came on and got your goal anyway. Sometimes he disappears out of games. He's not completely involved, but then there's no getting away from the fact the guy's a bit of a match winner. He's scored some seriously massive goals this season.
He tortured Barisic in that February game as well. He was outstanding. I think Barisic,
when he gave up and sat on his arse.
They put Barisic at the left, and it sort of kept them a wee bit more quiet in the second half. I don't think Abada's going to start myself. I think he's going to put Jota out on the right. Jota was class.
I think he played Jota on the right, but same way the only problem is technically he isn't the best. So if we get the ball on the wing, he's not going to run at Tavernier and cross the ball. So that's the only issue with him.
He'll come inside all the time for McGregor.
But his technical ability isn't good enough to take the ball, and they are a decent team. You can kind of get away with it against some of the weaker Scottish teams, but when it comes up against them, he's not going to get the ball and go past Tavernier and get across. So it is a big decision in terms of what he plays, because if he's playing Greg Taylor left back, Taylor's not going to be bombing past him for in the Tierney overlap. No, so that's another kind of issue. Then you're looking at, are we going to try and play everything down the right? And Jota didn't really play against them last time. He kind of did his kind of. I'm not Jota's biggest fan, but sometimes he does this where he does a step over 5 yards away from a player, and he did a bit of that the last day against them. So if we shut everything down Jota's side, they can just close us out, because we might become a bit too predictable. That's just one kind of worry I have for Sunday.
Yeah. I just think that we need to play through the lines against them in the first 20-30 minutes, as opposed to, like we've done it a few times this season. We've put the ball out wide, we've tried to create crosses. Big Giakoumakis is quite good at actually getting on them. He's an incredible instinctive first-time finisher. But I think if you can play through the lines against them, and you've got someone like Rogic or O'Reilly who can pick the pockets, you've seen what the difference that Rogic made against Dundee United, and he just finds tiny gaps. He's such an intelligent football player. If you can find the twos and play through their midfield and get them, I think you cause them massive problems. Their two centre halves are static. They're near robotic. They didn't like physical pressure. They'll clear everything and anything if it comes into the 6-yard box. But if you actually put pressure and make them think and run at them, I think they've got serious problems. They're wooden. So I think he'll probably go for legs on the wing, and I think he'll pick Maeda just because he gives that extra yard. He'll run, he'll play a high press, he'll get them. But I think if you're looking for quality to break them down, it'll come through the middle of the park. And I see plenty of ways in which you could penetrate and hurt them in the instances. I think they're actually quite vulnerable centre half. I think Goldston's disgusting. But time will tell. That would be my team, what you just described as now. If fit, I would play Rogic, McGregor and Hatate in the middle. I'd play Maeda out, and then Jota, and then Giakoumakis up top.
Thought you were going to say Beaton there, Martino.
No chance.
He's on the orange bus. He might be on the fourth on the Beaton bus as well.
I'm the only one on that Beaton bus. Isn't?
Nah.
I don't think he's going to start him. But I wouldn't be, put it this way, I wouldn't be gutted if he did start him, to be honest. I agree with what you said about Giakoumakis, though. With Giakoumakis at Parkhead, he just planted himself in that position and just sort of bullied them too. He just was like, this is my position and I'm not moving for you. Not a fucking chance.
Could have had a hat-trick that night.
He's good at that role, though. Like, he's starting to get a wee bit better game management, and he's getting a wee bit more intelligence in his role. Like, he's really good at going touch tight and then taking that yard. He holds the ball up quite well, links players in now. There's certain games where he's maybe no overly in the game, but the things he does very cute, and you can see he knows where the goal is. I wouldn't look past him scoring at the weekend. I think he's he's quite an instinctive striker. He's no maybe like Almeida. He's not going to run down every single ball and sprint channels and all that sort of stuff. But he knows where to be. He's quite an instinctive box striker. I think the goal I really like, the one against Ross County. The second header, the one where he sort of headed.
That was a brilliant header. Yeah, the way he got back, that was an unreal finish.
Just so instinctive to be able to reposition the body and find that corner. I think he's just quite a clever striker, and he'll continue to improve next year. You'll see the best of him, I think. But
you can tell he loves it too.
I think he'll cause them mayhem if he's starting to understand his physique. He's using it better. And that'll cause. What defender wants to come up against a guy his size? You know what I mean? He's going to rough you up, cause you a bit of aggro. But then you need the assistance. That's what you need. You need to be able to flood the midfield. We overwhelm the midfield and win the battle in the midfield. We'll win the game.
It'd be great to see Kyogo. Even if he's not fit, just on the bench, just
shaking everybody's hand.
Picking
up not forget about him, but it's 26th December is the last time he played. So that's what January. That's 3 months since he's played. And I'm not saying he's done okay because he's evidently the best player in the team, and you would
in the league
9 times out of 10 you'd say he starts every single game if he's fit. But Jack Mack has scored 3 against Ross County. He scored 2 at Dundee United.
2 against Dundee United.
And 3 the previous season. So he scored 8 goals or something. You can't not play him, but I don't think he'll last the full game. I don't think legs wise, even in the 3-0 game when we were all over him, he was knackered with half an hour to go. I would imagine Kyogo will play at least half an hour and maybe more depending on how the game's going. And then I think going forward after this Sunday, Kyogo will be back to first choice.
Would you start him? If he's fully fit, do you think Ange would start him? Do you think he would just put him in?
No, because he's messed them up twice now. I think he ruined them in that bringing him on in that European game, and he messed them up playing in the.
Was that Real Betis? That was madness playing him in that game.
Yeah, that one, and the other one he played was at St. Johnstone. He played the Cup final. He came back for that, and then played against St. Johnstone. Yeah. But I don't think he'd make that mistake again because we'll need him for the last 6 games.
I think as well with the Kyogo situation, it's good to see that the tout has been outed because the whole secrecy about Kyogo's been. You haven't heard of Dickie Bird. I think you sent me a picture last week of him training and soon right in, bang, stole all your legs on Twitter, Pierce.
Well, I was only sent down to me. I forwarded on.
But I think fit or not fit, if you put him on the bench, if he's on the team sheet, that's a big thing.
It is. So psychologically, that shows if he's on the bench, that makes them think straight away because they need to then start thinking, how do we cater to pick him up? Do we put 2 on him? Then where does it leave gaps? Where he tortures teams. His movement is a joke. See, I keep saying next season, but these lads, most of them have played full seasons. If you get a full camp under there, and then next season the 3 of them are fresh, for me, man, his movement is a joke.
Even Kyogo, when they beat us at the start of the season, when we moved him into the centre, he created chances right away. That was when fucking Edward was off his game. But 2 chances. Do you remember the one he could have passed at the Christie and he happened to shoot? And in the second time, because Christie was going ballistic, he tried to pass instead of shooting.
But the irony though of Christie giving out about wanting to pass that day.
They ended up
in pass bread
They ended up in fucking Roselle. No doubt about it. And then with Femens as well, there's the speculation that Morelos is waddling about on crutches.
Did you see the guy?
Fat fuck was kicking about crutches in the airport or something like that.
Did you see the clip of the guy on Super Scoreboard?
No, I haven't seen it.
He phoned in to say he took the photograph and that it was him getting off the plane from Tenerife, and the guy presenting went, there's another one of them going through airport security, and the guy goes, "No, it isn't. You're lying." And the guy goes, "What are you on about? I'm not lying. There's a picture."
Was that taken today?
I think it's him going because he's in departures queuing up to go somewhere to put it back. So I think it's just put it out there. He's definitely playing. You know what they're like?
I couldn't give a flying fuck if he was playing or not.
Fuck him. Plays or no plays. The Ramsey
Vickers on him. That Morelos, I didn't understand the hype about that. He's a fat fuck. He's shite. He's a wee pudding. What's he played now? 16, 17 games. He scored 1 goal. He's a fucking useless wee diddy. Can't stand him. He melts.
I don't think you like him, mate.
Nah, fucking hate him. I cannot. I'd love to play against him. He's a freak.
I think Ramsey shit him as well, isn't he? He's meant to be an injury concern. Beaton wanted to roast him anyway.
He wants absolutely no part of it. He's happy to score shitey wee deflected goals at Dundee. He wants absolutely no part of it. I think I don't know, a lot of times this sort of stuff happens. So guys have had very good careers, were technically very good players at one stage, played at a good level and all that sort of stuff. Injuries have caught up with them, and then they get to a point where they sort of want to just fritter away the remaining years and get a couple of pounds. He wants absolutely no part of anything. He would be the biggest shite bag in the world. I think he'd get run all over, personally. Not to say that he was never a top class player. He was immense in his day, but he's not really been a decent player for 3 or 4 years now. I didn't really see him troubling it, if I'm being totally honest.
Game.
Well, should have been a good end. I can't see it happening.
He's not have a good game.
Players like you see.
Go ahead, mate. What were you saying?
The thing is, though, all he needs to have is one good game, and Keane came up for 6 months, and the only thing Keane did was that Ibrox game, and I don't think it's necessarily going to happen, but you could see that kind of thing happen with Ramsey, where he just plays one game, and that's it.
I just didn't see it happening. I didn't really see there had been any evidence to support it. Not to say that he couldn't turn it on. Top players generally want to turn up in the top games and showcase themselves on a big stage. I just didn't really see him doing it. I think the lad, he seeds all over the shop. Even in I seldom, if ever, watched him, but I watched the game against Dundee and he was absolutely hopeless. I just didn't really see him doing anything.
See, I thought he was all right.
If it was 1 against 1 and he's going up against McGregor, he'd get McGregor's a far better player. That's it.
If he doesn't play in the middle for them, he kind of plays off the right.
I don't think do you think he'll start the game?
Yeah.
Think so?
Yeah, I think
Who's this? Who are you saying?
Him and Kent, Aribo, and Jack. Who was the other one you said in the middle?
I think it'll be Aribo, Kamara, and Jack.
Kamara.
By all accounts, had the best game of football ever in the second half in the last game against us.
I think we're going to come out from the very start and just be, honestly, I think they would be foolish to come out and just press and attack right away. Obviously,
I think they have to, though.
They're going to do this game. They're CL is talking about they're under more pressure than us. You can't even say it. There's pressure in every single one of these games. You don't want to come out. Like people are saying about, like, you know, even if we come away, anything other than a 6-0 defeat, we come away. I get that 100%, but you always want to beat these cunts. Always. You don't want to give them a sniff at all. I just think that the Emmons coming out, if we catch Emmons on the break nice and early, that'll suit us lovely.
They might try and hit us on the break.
I think that Lundstrom, I think that they're going to do that thing where Lundstrom, the same way he played against Dortmund, play that centre half, get into that sort of beat-on position.
Not the Makelele role, the beat.
Not the Makelele role, definitely not. But I think he's going to, I think when they're going forward, he's going to go forward, and then obviously when we're going forward, he's going to drop back in, do a 5 at the back. It worked well for them, obviously, against Borussia Dortmund, the fucks. But no, I think that we're the way we're playing at the minute, 25 games unbeaten in the league. I think that obviously momentum's through the roof. We're talking about all these different positions. Who's going to start? Who's not? That's all unbelievable problems to have going into this game. You know, Turnbull coming back. You know, is Hugo going to be on the bench? Is Giakoumakis going to start? These are all, and Giakoumakis as well. Even us saying this here is fantastic because, you know, we said that 5 or 6 weeks ago, even more. You'd have been shitting yourself. Giakoumakis starting at Ibrox. You'd have been like, fuck. People were writing him off right away. You know, and the big man has come good. He's absolutely flying. Like I said, 2 hat-tricks. He's at 8 goals in 3 or 4 games. So all good problems to have. Whereas they look a wee bit sort of dodgy in the league the last couple of months. Like I say, you'd be shitting yourself before every one of these games, but I'm supremely confident.
No, like you, Lee.
It's not even being, honestly, it's not even being like Mr. Positive.
No, it's founded from evidence. Celtic recently have been unreal in the league. They've been a wee bit shaky, but got the results they needed. I just see them getting...
We've been shaky in the league. Honestly, bar Ross County at home. When's the last game? Bar Ross County and the Huns at home. We have won one game comfortably at home, I'd say, since October. Like, I think we've not
really been conceding. That's true. We did score a few late goals and all that sort of stuff, but you always get that in a season. I think now when you're getting into the business end, I just think we look a wee bit more clinical. The strikers are doing the business, the wingers are starting to come into a wee bit more of a game, and the defenders sort of know their roles a wee bit. The only thing that really worries me is Taylor. That left side for me is very, very susceptible, and I think you've got big problems, primarily because when they get behind, for as good as a shot stopper is, I know that sounds cliched, but Hart doesn't like coming off his line. So you've got that sort of vulnerability if Carter Vickers can't pick up the balls coming in. I think Taylor just fills me with dread. He offers you nothing going forward, and I don't think he's a particularly great defender.
Who will he be marking? Faison Sakala? I think he's been starting for them, hasn't he? The last.
No, Ryan Ramsey started on the right, kind of against Dundee. So I'd imagine it could be Ramsey, and it'll be Tavernier bombing on.
Oh, past him. The Taylor for me, if I was them, I'd just put every single thing on him. You would be forcing every single thing down the left, pressing him, playing so he can press it back to the keeper, and then forcing mistakes. But to be fair, I said the exact same when we played them the last time, and we absolutely battered them at home. And game is due, he had a decent game. So I'm sure Big Ange is a lot more experienced and a lot more knowledgeable than we are. And every single Celtic fan will and has their opinion, and they can say whatever they want up until the day of the game. I think the big man will have it sussed. I think he'll know how to do the business. He's played against them before. He knows what to expect, and I think he'll go there and get his first one at Ibrox. But I didn't even see him. He loves them. I honestly didn't see them causing us that many problems. I think they'll have quite a lot of the ball for the first 15-20 minutes. And then after we get a stranglehold of the game and get into it, I think we score first in the first half. And then after that, we'll take the game from them. But I didn't think it'll be as quick. We won't be as impressive, I don't think, in the first half as we were at Celtic Park. But I think it'll be fairly comfortable. I think it'll maybe be 2-0. That would be my hunch.
I like your confidence, Martino. I like your confidence.
Thank you.
I can't believe it took us 25 minutes to even mention the second coming of Jesus Christ. 25 minutes before he was mentioned. That's the thing as well. You're going to turn your playing for him. That clip Celtic released today on Twitter was sensational, by the way. Absolutely sensational. Seriously, like. Stupid. No, they're not. They definitely aren't. What do you think about the 700 tickets?
A joke.
Would you have told him to ram them, or what? Would you agree with?
100%.
Yeah, Pierce, what about you?
To be honest, I just know from the kind of listening to other podcasts and stuff, people kind of seem to be like fairly in the know about stuff, is that Celtic's issue is such with giving them 700 or 800 tickets is because, you know, like the Celtic got that cordon and the gates outside the stand, that it's a lot harder to police 800 people than it is 3,500, which sounds weird, but the 3,500 you can kind of lock off that centre and just have them in. So that's why Celtic want to do the 3,500, like the European allocation, and they just didn't want it. Now, I know some people are like dying to go to Ibrox and all that kind of stuff. I've been at the last game. I would rather never have them in the ground ever again. I don't want to have them at Celtic Park.
I can take that point, right? I do understand that point. I personally would rather an existence where I never had to talk to one of them in my entire life, the far less see them or listen to them for 90 minutes. I do get that. But there needs to be a quid pro quo. Some of the best days of my existence following Celtic were going to Ibrox, winning at Ibrox. Even some of the best days I had, sounds mad, getting beat there. It galvanised the sport. It brought the best, even sometimes under Mowbray and that when we were shite. But for me, it needs to go back to the way it was. 8,000 is it should be the way it was. We had the Broom Loan. They had the full up and down plus the corner. It made sense. It makes for a better spectacle. That night, every single thing geared towards that, built towards that. There was a sort of crescendo, if you like, in the season. It'll be defining if we get the win, which I think we will on Sunday. But games like that will kind of define the season. But the atmosphere was only as good as it was because of the sort of magnitude of the match. Now, generally, you could say every single time we play them, it's massive. But we played them last season and all that sort of stuff. and we played them a few times recently, and the atmosphere was fairly shite. I think it needs to go to, like, I don't think you would be able to maintain that level of atmosphere consistently if there isn't, not to say that you're singing to a focal point, but if they are not there and there's no presence there, it dilutes it. For me, and I didn't really like comparing the game to a commercial brand or saying that it's for TV purposes, but generally speaking, not that many people around the world are watching that game solely for the content on the pitch. They watch it because the spectacle is, and generally in the stands. It's two complete polar opposites. We, for anyone watching that doesn't understand, are the good guys, socialist Republicans. They, bad guys, freakish, mutant, Hun, bigoted, orange, racist bastards. And then you've got two completely polar opposite people in a stadium making an unbelievable atmosphere. It needs to go back to that. This nonsense with Robertson, it's just total shite. And if they can do it for Borussia Dortmund and all that, and Red Star, and you can have 3.5, then let's start. That's a starting block. If that can be properly stewarded and safely executed with the Polish, then put that in place. They get us and we get them. But to have this shite with 800, they're non-starters. It totally takes away for the like when you used to go to the games and you seen a wall of the fuckers. Like, I think back to my old boy telling me, like, back in the 70s and 80s, he used to get 25,000 at Celtic Park. There's a fucking wall of them. The whole, like, they had the entire what is now the Lisbon Lions stand. But I think you need to get back to something more remotely normal than what we're experiencing now, because this 800 shite. Fans need to be able to enjoy the game. First and foremost, the support need to be able to go. There's a core of the away support generally around about the 3.5 to 4,000 mark. So if that could be appeased, then you could have a situation where what you've seen in the European games at Ibrox could be utilised by Celtic, then it should be vice versa. It makes sense. It's much better for the support, and it's much better for the spectacle of the game. It dilutes it as an atmosphere, and it dilutes it as a derby rivalry. It just doesn't mean as much when you didn't have the support on the stadium.
It's important to remember that it was Rangers who started this.
100%.
To know when that's not being spoke about enough, obviously in the mainstream media. It's just not. Hartson put a tweet out last week, and he hit the nail on the head when he said it. They started this whole shit. They couldn't take the party celebrations. They just couldn't take it, and it's just another example of how fucking fucked up they are. Like, there's no football club in the world like them. Like, there just isn't. It's hard to explain, even when you're speaking to people who don't even have an interest in football. If you were to say that they cut the allocation from thousands down to 800 because they couldn't take the opposite team winning and celebrating, people wouldn't believe you.
They're strange breed of people.
You want the back, to like 4.5, like 7.5, 8,000 again.
Aye, but the only reason being is because we get 8,000 when we go to Ibrox. That's it. There has to be a degree of parity.
I genuinely, Dan, this kind of goes back to, it's 5 years since they come up into the league. But when the old club died, when they came up into the league, Celtic basically by their actions decided they are the same club, and once again bought into the old firm thing. Celtic should have, in my view, should have treated them as any other club, and they get 1,500 tickets in the other stand. But of course, Celtic then bought into it. They started charging 50 quid a go. So you can't pretend that they're a different club and then basically buy into the whole old firm thing, which then leads into the Australia game. Obviously, they backed out of it in the end. So I would just I would have given them 1,500 quid from the start, and that's just like. But Celtic had decided that they are the same club, so I wouldn't give them anything more than any other team, because I don't see them as any other different to other teams.
I think I take your point. That's a fair point, but there's certain things that they'll say for publicity, and there's certain things that they'll say to appease sort of the hardcore of the support on social media or letters and things like that. And there's a totally different thing, the way that they perceive a business model. They might say we're half of nothing, but they're indeed half everything when there's money involved. But I take your point. I understand what you're saying with the allocation and all that sort of stuff. But yes, they died. Yes, they came up back through the leagues. Yes, they were liquidated and all that sort of stuff. But there's no getting away from the fact that within the league, it's still the biggest prospect for any fan that supports us or that mob. It's the game that you're most up for in a season. So to deny supporters an opportunity to go, I just think it's a joke. And for all intents and purposes, as much as I wouldn't want that mob in the stadium for everything that they represent, everything that they sing about, everything that they embody, I would still prefer a decent away support. And if it never goes back to what previously was, like the full Broom loan, there's no logical reason why, if this season they could afford 3,500 tickets for a European game to an away team like Dortmund, if that can be safely stewarded and supported, why could we not have it the other way around? This tiny wee corner, it's of no use to anybody. It's totally and utterly shite. You've got a team the size of Celtic, a core support to go generally every week. The core away is probably about 3.5, 4. Now, if that could be facilitated, there's no reason why it couldn't be implemented. It's just total pettiness. It's absolutely futile. The only ones that really suffer are the fans. The guys in the boardroom and that they suffer. They still charge 50 quid anyway, so it means nothing to them. It's just money at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think you're nailing the head there. Like, even, it just needs to be spoke about more. You're not. I think if it was a reverse and Celtic made this decision first and they sliced the tickets and started the whole rigmarole, there would have been a lot more said. There would have been a lot more of this fucking. You would have had the pundits on before the games and talking about that all the time, all the time.
100%.
But you look at derby games all around the world. You look at the likes of Barcelona games, Barcelona playing Real Madrid. You don't see away fans. You don't really see that.
It's not a thing really in Spain.
That's the thing, but it does sort of have an impact. It really does. I don't know about you, but even at that game, we were standing our peers saying we messed it. You love to be looking at pain faces. You're 3-0 up, you're playing unbelievable. You just want to see tears.
That was my face. I was still in tears.
And listen, you cannot deny that when you're there and they're there and you're winning, like that game, when you're kicking about with a sash on, 5-1.
When the corner had a tricolour on.
Oh, that was amazing that day. But
I was in the wrong part of that tricolour.
Same. Felt dirty. But you can't deny that, you do. I don't know about you. I know you said differently, our Pierce, but I would like to see the large numbers reinstated. Definitely.
Oh, look, there's nothing better than watching them sneaking out. It's a joy to watch. If you're 3-0 up with or something with half an hour to go, and then you start seeing the green seats appearing. But I just think it's a bigger issue than just kind of fans. And also Celtic have 53,000 season books, so you got to say the people sitting in there that section, sorry, you're not getting your ticket because some horrible racist mutants are going to be sitting there next week.
Yeah. That's it. The plumbers and the maintenance men at Celtic Park must be fucking delighted they're not allowed back in.
But at Celtic Park, we've got 10,000 more seats. At Celtic Park, you could easily facilitate a situation where what we give on European nights could be put, and that doesn't put anybody's nose out of joint in terms of season ticket holders and all that sort of stuff. In fact, with that plus that, you would still have enough to be able to sell tickets to general sale.
The 3.5 is fine, but I can't see them going back to 7.5. I just don't see that happening.
No, if they're not going to budge off the position currently, if they were going to move, they would have done it this season. So if they're not going to move now, I think the best you're looking for in the next season or two would be to go to what they just did with the European model. I think
something will happen this summer.
Aye, well, they'll have to get round the table.
I'd say the SPL might say you need to offer the team something I don't know, 10% of the tickets for.
I'd be quite surprised if the TV rights and all that sort of stuff, if Sky and all that never got involved and says it's impinging on the product or whatever like that. It definitely detracts from the spectacle. But as far as Scottish football's concerned, I know it's a side tangent, but they definitely need to get rid of Sky Sports. They're of absolutely no benefit or asset to Scottish football. They're absolute pariahs. They're the worst TV company to film games in Scotland. They're fucking jokes.
Aye, fucking the likes of the people they employ to fucking cover the games as well.
Aye, big time. And they're a scandal.
You had the likes of that penalty this season they got the other week, and you're having people stand on live TV and say that the referee got that decision right. Andy Walker for me is as bad as Chris Boyd. He fucking hell. I mean, you've ever seen a guy who just wants to keep his job as much in your whole life?
It's because he tries too hard for impartiality to look like this. The ones that try too hard, they're the ones that are the worst.
McCoist,
at least Boyd in that knows what he is.
That Mackay fella, this is completely irrelevant. It has nothing to do with Sunday. I don't think this is what pointless conversation. Just like Andy Mackay. Did you ever see like when he's commentating on English Premier League games, he's trending on Twitter, and like you see people thinking he's great and all that. My skin does boil like when you see
Ned Bry just sitting with his notepad.
Yeah, and he's taking notes.
Moving just before we wrap it up, lads. Ben Doak away to Liverpool today. What does he make of it? Another one from youth development team heading off.
I'll let Pierce go first, and then I'm going to vociferously disagree with him when you go, son.
$600,000 doesn't really mean anything for him. I think that from what the talk is, he's getting $10,000 a week. So I'm not surprised he's going down there for $10,000 a week. But let's be honest, what he's 16. He's probably after getting like a 5-year deal or something, and he will be just on loan down in the lower leagues of English football. He'll probably end up working for Gary Neville's socialist utopia, Salford, who have economically just somehow managed to get through the non-leagues who are paying players and pats on the back. That's where he'll end up, in the lower leagues of English football. He's a good player and all that, and you can see why we obviously wanted to keep him. The fact that we were playing, like he came on there he came on the 3-0 game, didn't he? And he played a few other games, but he disappeared after that. So his mind has obviously been made up. But he's 16. He's probably had people telling him since he was 12 that he's the best thing since sliced bread. So if someone's saying to you, go down to Liverpool, you're probably going to think, I can make it down there. So, I mean, I don't particularly care if he goes. The last person I got annoyed about, I think that was leaving Celtic, was Liam Miller, and that's 18 years ago. So I've kind of given up on grudges on people who Celtic.
My heart's still no mended after Tierney. But I couldn't disagree with too much what you said there. I understand why the lads went and done it. His dad and that's probably when it spoke to him. It'll change not just his life, but his family's life. It'll give him a sense of financial security that maybe could never have been afforded. I'm not privy to their social standing or what their circumstances are financially. But for a young lad at that age, it's still at school, to be getting offered that kind of money is just absolutely eye-watering. It's life-changing. $500,000 a year to play academy football is an absolute nonsense for starters. But he's obviously got a lot of talent. He's just got a hat-trick, albeit only for the under-17s for Scotland. But he looks like a tidy enough wee player, good enough to be able to come on for Celtic. Made a wee bit of an impact. He looks quite fearless, fast. Someone that could probably do something in the future. I just wish I could see these young laddies staying. If they've got the potential to get close or literally penetrate the first team, go and get 50, 100 games under your belt. Play a bit of football, understand playing in a league with men. And then if you do think you've got the talent, or that talent is matched by the ambition to go into a team like Liverpool, and I get it, like Liverpool come knocking, they've just won the European Cup, one of the best teams in the world, literally. They've got an unbelievable infrastructure, unbelievable manager, unbelievable academy. He's going to be playing at a top level. But what's going to happen is ultimately, probably will, for his development, get farmed out on loan. If he went down the route like a Tierney, stuck with Celtic till he's in his early 20s, then he might have had a chance to go and play in first team football. But if he's got the ability, more credit to him. I hope he does very well. I hope he doesn't languish in lower leagues playing in loans. But ultimately, these days in England, you need to be a £40, £50 million player to get looked at by a first team. For a 16-year-old lad going down there with sort of starry-eyed ambitions of playing football, I think he's pissing in the wind, personally. I think it basically boils down to money as opposed to realistic football time. I didn't really see him making a dent anywhere near that team. If he was on the periphery at Celtic, he's no anywhere near Liverpool. And if he's, it wasn't as if he was playing every single week and he was a standout. He's a talented young laddie. He's got a lot of potential for the future. But we've seen these sort of things recently, and we'll continue to see it. I could probably see it happening with Dembele in the summer. Seen it with Robertson recently when he went to Bayern Munich. There's a lot of good talent coming through Celtic. But I just think fundamentally there's something wrong. Letting these boys go to 16, 17, they didn't even understand the game. They barely played it. How can you give someone $10,000 a week that's 16? I mean, he's barely kicked a ball. It's total madness. No wonder.
I think you hit the nail on the head when you says about money, though, Martin. You're 16 years of age and you're being offered $10,000 a week to go and play graduate football.
Yeah, God.
That's at 16, and I think the biggest telling point
£500,000 a year. If you say his dad, and again, I'm only speculating. I apologise profusely if he's fucking absolutely loaded. Say he's a normal geezer. and he's doing a job for 500 quid a week, and say his ma's on 300 or 400 pound a week, right? And they're living in a normal house, and the wee laddie's obviously got an abundance of talent, and he's playing at Celtic, and he might potentially, in an idealistic world, be fulfilling his potential. I've heard he's a Celtic fan. Ultimately, that might boil down to jack shit. He could get an injury, something could happen. He doesn't fulfil his potential. He doesn't play for Celtic, whatever it may be. Gets farmed out on loan like a Henderson to Hibs or whatever. At the moment, he's been given a concrete offer, right? 10 grand's been offered to him, or whatever it is. Let's even just be really conservative. Say it's 5 grand, and Celtic apparently have been given 600,000. If a concrete offer's on the table and they're offering you life-changing money, then to say to a 16-year-old laddie, don't do it, it's insanity. He might never get a move again in his entire life. Football is a fickle sport, can change in a heartbeat.
It's another example of how football is constantly evolving. Like this, people are wondering why these things are happening, and it just comes down solely to money, in my opinion. If you're a Celtic fan, if you have Postecoglou, he's mentioned it before that God himself. He's having conversations with these boys and saying, listen, if you don't want to be here, go to another team. He's clearly had a conversation with Ben Doak. Ben Doak is getting, probably promised the moon and stars when he goes down to England. The only thing I would say about that is that, once you get a move to Liverpool at 16, it doesn't automatically mean that you're going to become, you're going to make it as a professional footballer in the Premier League. It's a big...
But how many guys come through the Liverpool Academy? Trent Alexander's probably the only one you can think of in the last 5-10 years, I could be wrong, that's properly made it at Liverpool. So imagine how good you have to be, and you can imagine Liverpool are picking up kids from all over the world. So constantly. I mean, if he goes down there and has the confidence, then he make it fair play to him. Like if he does make a fair play,
good luck to him.
Like so, I don't.
100%.
I mean, people having to go.
I wish him all the luck in the world. If you flipped it and somebody was an engineer and they were getting paid £600 a week and somebody offered you fucking £6 grand a week, they'd probably make a move. So you're going to do what's best for you, and he's going to set himself up for life. He'll be able to buy his mum and dad a gaff. He's going to be absolutely sorted. Good luck to the boy. I hope he does amazing. And if he backs his ability and he's good enough to go down there and make a dent, fair fucks to you. And worst case scenario, say he goes and gets a championship move or something, he goes get farmed out on loan in 2 years, then he'll still be playing at a very high standard. So I wish the laddie none but success. There's no point in people holding gripes against him. I mean, he's no established player. He's played a few games, predominantly coming on as a sub. He's not really made much of an impact. The thing that annoys me is that he's clearly a talent. He's been nurtured through the academy, and I would prefer that if he was advised properly, they say to him, listen, you're doing the right things, you're on the periphery playing for Celtic, stick around for a couple of seasons, and if you make a dent and you make an impact, then go and get your move. Go and play 50, 100 games. Go and try and actually get yourself in the first team.
I don't get it. I don't get it myself.
But too often you're seeing these wee laddies chasing the money, and that's understandable. It's very hard for someone to be in a position, be offered that kind of money that could change your life and your families, and say no to it. So good luck to the laddie. I hope he does very well. Celtic are obviously doing the right things. McIntyre and that's obviously producing a lot of good talent, and that's been evidenced further by that tournament they're about to play in and all that. They're clearly doing the right things at the academy. I just wish they would, one, be able to sustain it for a bit longer, but also two, be able to bleed them into the first team like what we had for a wee period with your Forrest, McGregor's, Tierney's, all that. Now obviously you've got the best right back in the world in Ralston. The academy's healthy.
It is, but you'd look past it as well if he wasn't getting played. He was getting minutes at 16 years of age. Like he was getting played.
Did he play
I personally, I just don't get it.
3, I think.
I understand about money. I know you speak about money 100%. And again, I'm not in that position. I'm not being offered fucking 10 grand to go and play for Liverpool. You're playing professional football for Celtic. You're getting minutes under Ange Postecoglou, who no doubt will have an unbelievable impact on your career. You're going to be playing European football. You're going to be a part of a team who's playing fantastic football at the minute. Even going here on Sunday, you're going to be part of that team going to play these big matches on Sunday, and you're swapping that for graduate football. I don't get it. I have this argument all the time, and people say to me, you're full of shit, you would do this, you would do that. I wouldn't do it.
No, I get your point 100%. If you look at purely from a professional standpoint, remove the money, you've went for a situation where you're on the periphery of either a squad, e.g. in the stand or on the bench, or potentially maybe over the course of, say, next season, hypothetically, you maybe get, say, 10 appearances, right? Young laddie, nurture the talent, you have to be able to obviously get to a position where his maturity and his mental capacity is able to be in line with his physical ability and his actual talent. Because you can't just chuck a young lad under the bus and put all the pressure on him. If he's good enough and he was starting to come through the first team next year, playing in front of 60,000 people will aid his development 100 times more than playing in front of about fucking 200 people at Melwood. But on the other hand, the money is obviously a huge factor. I would just prefer to see these young laddies understand their trade, play football, get minutes under their belt, and actually develop as a professional at a senior level, as opposed to going and playing 17s doing in fucking Liverpool against Brighton and Hove Albion.
I don't think you'd be playing 17s down there. Like, let's say you're him, right, and you're looking at Celtic in the last 5-6 years. How many kids have come through with Celtic to start? Like, I can't think of any. He's probably looking at Dembele. There was all the talk. Never kind of got a game. I think he's going to make it. I think he's going to sign a contract.
Has been injured though, hasn't he? He has a couple of injuries.
Henderson was on the cusp of making it, and then Rodgers left, and then it came in. Never really made it. So no real player is coming through with Celtic. I know it sounds ridiculous because he's going to Liverpool and he's probably not going to play there, but I could be wrong. But I think down in England they have a reserve league, or it might be even another 23s league. So you could go down there and play against actual men every single week, and which you get you like ready to playing adult football. Or they might they could just farm out straight away to League One and just, you know what, hack it and see if you can get it. So there doesn't seem to be a pathway for players that come through Celtic at the moment to play for Celtic. Now, the amount of ex-Celtic players you see in like the Championship or playing for other teams in Scotland, like Celtic seem to be
3 at Ross County alone.
Yeah, so we produce players for every other team in Scotland, but we don't seem to be able to produce many players for like actual Celtic. Cause who can you think of? Genuinely, McGregor, Forrest,
Roger, Ralston, sorry.
Yeah. Ralston.
Ralves.
Who else?
Welsh,
and McGeady before that. That's kind of really all I'm thinking of.
Maloney.
5 at 6 in 15 years.
It's definitely a tricky one. Money is playing a massive part. There's no doubt about it. It's just hard. Celtic aren't going to give him 10 grand a week. It's just not going to happen. 16-year-old kid.
He went for more. The fee that was paid for him, reportedly, if it's correct, 600 grand, is more. I know it's a stupid comparison, but I was just thinking about it. Is more than what Hibs have ever paid for a player. Like if you look at it in that capacity, 16-year-old lad that's barely kicked the ball. I think he's come on for 3 subs appearances, and he's going down to Liverpool for more money than what Hibs have ever paid for.
That's the thing. You're talking about financial levels. Like the guy is nothing to Liverpool. Like, do you know what's?
Yeah, it's loose change for them. But like, I think if I'm right, I think Dela Cruz or who was the other one? I think they've spent about $500,000 on 2 players, and that was about their lot. They've brought through boys, and then the rest are generally loans or maybe around the 100 grand mark. There's loads of teams in Scotland that are in similar positions. They must look at things like this and think, how the fuck are they selling a player for 600 grand that's now played football? He's not even started a game. It's crazy.
It does. You talk about this all the time. You look at players who have played Celtic and went on to play in England, and I think we talked about this the other week. Patrick Roberts. Sunderland. Sunderland.
I think he's still on loan.
Sunderland. I thought he was at Middlesbrough.
I think City have let him. He's long gone. He played for them was he playing for Derby last year or something?
Yeah, he was there when Derby just stayed up. But yeah, he's with Sunderland. And
God, you really keep the finger on the pulse at XXX Celtic players.
I do it in like the bitchiest way possible. Where it's like, if Derby were in that playoff final, I'm cheering for the other team. Just so the Patrick Roberts could be turning around and going, where the fuck did I leave Celtic?
I've seen guys that are like following the amount of minutes that Australian lads got at Middlesbrough. That sort of stuff. Better as fuck. Alright, calm down, lads.
We get Matt O'Reilly instead. Absolute murder, by the way. He is.
There's a player in him.
Big time. Good looking big fucker too.
Well, it's his age and all that sort of stuff as well. You look at how composed he is on the ball. He can play. Obviously, he was a captain down there. He's like, there's a lot of qualities to his game. Just got his first nod the other now for Denmark 21s. He's got a big future ahead of him. It's the age of him that excites me, considering the talent he's got. He'll develop. Like when he gets to about 24, 25, I think he needs to strengthen up a wee bit.
Yeah. But, he's playing on Sunday, by the way. His performance against them in February was unreal. He was unreal at That's it.
Hattadi, McGregor, and O'Reilly. That's the three Ange will play. And Beaton up.
See, the thing that makes me quite happy now, though, there's loads of instances where I'd ruined different parts of the positions, and especially in the midfield, where I wouldn't be that bothered if I like the three that you just mentioned. We could easily play another three, and I think Celtic would out with McGregor would still be quite strong. There's the only person I would be scunnered with would be McCarthy start. He's never going to start. That was a bizarre signing, but
oh God!
But imagine he started. Just shut the
Sometimes you forget he plays for Celtic.
Yeah, getting paid a fortune. Dermot Desmond signing.
Eddie Gucci's been unlucky as well,
3 more years.
With that injury.
Yeah, he's another one. That he'll come back as the greatest cliche all time. You know that he's like a new signing. Next season he'll be flying. There's a lot of confidence around Celtic at the moment. We just need to be able to develop a strategy and a plan for playing in Europe. No, just be as naive and just go gung ho against teams that pick us off. But big fan of Ange. I think he's got their number. I think he'll beat them again at the weekend, and then that's us. We'll get our first league under him, and then we can kick on. We'll win the treble this year as well. By the way, we'll murder them at Ibrox. Like I'm saying, I'm being quite tentative about the game at Ibrox. I think at Hampden we will absolutely murder them. Like I mean, put a number on them, like old school 2016 Rodgers style, like 4-5-0. I'm not even joking. I'm being serious.
I love it. I'm here for it, mate.
Big massive pitch. I think Kyoko's back at that stage. You split them. Runs coming through the middle. Roderick picks up every single second ball. I think we murder them actually. I think when you play at Ibrox, it'll be a bit more compact. It'll be harder to play through the lines, and you'll maybe pick up a couple of fortuitous goals. I don't think it'll be the prettiest of games actually on Sunday. I think it'll just be all about tempo and desire. Whoever wants it most in the middle of the park will win the game. That's what will decide the game. But at Hampden,
finish up with
Hampden comes down to skill, you see, because it's a bigger pitch, it's more expansive, more open. Then you hammer the fuckers. Hammer them. Weekend 2-0, Hampden 5-0. Boom.
My man's just had a coffee about fucking 45 minutes ago, and I'm here for it. Double espresso, no sleeping 8. Yo. Score predictions, boys, before we wrap it up. Let's have it.
Yes, boys. Say it again?
You said 2-0, Martin, was it?
Aye, 2-0 at Ibrox, and then when we play them in Hampden, we'll beat them 4 or 5-0. I'm not joking.
So I'll go. I'm walking away with a 1-1 draw. The happiest man in the world. I would take 2 draws against them now in the 2 league games. Absolutely.
I thought you were going to say in the cup.
I'll take a draw and penalties on that as well.
Oh, you're a freak. Lee, what are you saying to it? 6-0, mate?
No. Honestly. Oh, I keep changing. I keep changing. I'm going between 7 and 8 now all day. Honestly. I'm going to say 3-1. I'm going to say 3-1 Celtic. I'm going to say 3-1 Celtic, and I'm going to say Beaton's going to start. Put it out there.
No way.
The Bethlehem Busquets, get him on.
I like your confidence. I can't see it.
He's not playing again after the away again. Who was that team that hammered us in Europe?
Bodo Glimt.
Everyone.
Yeah, he's not. That was the end of him in midfield, and God, what's his name? God, the Irish guy at left back. He hasn't been seen since.
Scales.
Yeah, Scales. That was kind of. I think that game might have finished him.
He had a horror game that night, eh?
Poor.
He's far out. He's not. He's way off it.
Anyway, lads, this has been absolutely lethal as always.
We'll be back again in 3 months.
We are back.
Speak us again about 9 months, 10 months. By the way, if Beaton starts and has a hurler, I am deactivating my Twitter account. Too far.
If Beaton starts, he gets a red card.
That's the thing with him. Yeah, this could be another show as well. You know, he's just so prone to a card. You know, the other thing as well before we go, Hattari is as well. Hattari leaves it in, mate. He's a physical player, like.
Aye, that tackle against Dundee United, that was at the game. That could have been a red card.
He was lucky.
Aye, like he was quite. He was like, I don't think it was a malicious tackle, but it was just the speed he went in it, and he didn't particularly to me look like he was in control. I've never seen it back, but you need to watch though. I think it's Willie Collum at the weekend. He's always he's itching to
correct.
But you need to be able to keep your discipline. And I know people say things like, "Oh, crowds didn't matter." Crowds make a massive difference. Listen, they will be fucking bang up for this. This is a 6-pointer for them. They need to win this game. They know if they lose this game, the season's over. So the atmosphere will be on top of you. You'll barely be able to hear the Celtic corner. They'll be fucking at it in minute 1. If you can suppress them, just infuriate them for the first 10-15 minutes, get the crowd against them, and Celtic get a goal, changes the dynamic. But the people say crowds didn't make a difference. Make a huge difference. Celtic's done it for years. In Europe, we used to suck the ball in the net. But I think if we withstand a sort of early onslaught, we beat them. But
I agree.
Just need to
if we get an early goal
just need to keep our discipline and make sure there's absolutely no stupid tackles, no early bookings and all that, because then you're walking a tightrope. Just make sure that the players are on it. But as I say, I keep reiterating, the game will be won in the middle of the park. I'm confident McGregor will do the business. We'll beat them.
You talk about atmosphere. You talk about atmosphere as well. If we get an early goal, if we keep them quiet for 20 minutes and get a goal after 20 minutes, they will be on them. It's a fact. They have been for months. Long may it continue.
It'll go for absolutely deafening to just like they'll be getting jeered and booed. It makes them nervous on the touch. They didn't want to then play certain passes. You need to be able to ride that early storm out. I can see it coming already. I've played the game in my head about 1,000 times. Get your money. If there's 10,000 people watching this just now, chuck your money on 2-0. 10 people watching. Anyway, listen, lads. Play.
Into them. Lads, pleasure as always. Speak to you in about 30 seconds here after we pretend we'll never see each other again. Absolutely loved it.